We are the Jewish people. This is the Jewish land. This is the Jewish state.
A Jew is not a Zionist, and a Zionist is not a Jew.
Being Jewish doesn't mean you should have blind support for Israel.
Israel does not speak for us.
The most dangerous place for Jewish people is in the state of Israel.
How can you call your country safe when you surround yourself with this iron dome?
So I would never, ever go there.
Free! 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 Free!
Israel, you do not speak in our name. You do not speak for us. Never shall your crimes be committed in our name, because we are a different Jewish tradition. A tradition deeply and implacably committed to human rights and to freedom, and to an end to the blockade, and above all to justice to Palestinians. And we make this call to the whole of the Jewish community.
Jews for Justice for Palestinians has been in existence for about 12 years now. We're an organisation which is really based on human rights, the human rights of the Palestinians.
Our group is called Into a Carter. We working very much to give out this message on the world that Jews and Zionists is not the same thing. We believe what is written in the Torah, in the Bible, Numbers 14. Vayomer Moshe, Moses was the prophet. Lumu ze atem oivrim es pi Hashem. Why do you go against God? Vehi lo yitzlach. This will not succeed.
ICAD stands for the Israeli Committee Against House Demolitions. It's a human rights and political organization. It started in 1997 by Israeli Jews who were activists, or are activists, and they would be present at house demolitions when they would happen. Carried out as a punishment, which is actually a leftover from the British Mandate, where they used to demolish the homes of Zionist militias for doing attacks on the British. And they've carried it on, and so they punish Palestinians for attacks on Israelis. In the South Hebron Hills, there's an area that back in the 1980s was declared a firing zone. It's called Firing Zone 918. Within that firing zone, there are 5 Palestinian villages. What's the Israel solution? Demolish the villages. Now, the demolitions haven't actually occurred. The village took their case to the Supreme Court, and that's where it's been sleeping ever since. And, perfectly honest with you, it's much better sleeping in the Supreme Court than awake in the Supreme Court. Because ultimately, if it does go to a hearing, the Supreme Court could say, yep, they need this land for security, the villages are going to get demolished. At the moment, it's sleeping, which means that the villages aren't at risk at the moment of having their villages demolished. The third type of house demolitions is administrative. Basically means you don't have a permit to build. Now, in many Western democratic countries, you need a permit to build. Why? Because the local authority needs to make sure that your plans match up with their plans, and that they can provide you with running water, electricity, sewage, and so on and so forth. But if the basic infrastructure of your neighborhood has barely changed in 47 years, the chances of you getting a permit are minimum. And the local authority will use all sorts of excuses not to issue permits in Jerusalem, such as the house is too much on a slope, the house is too close to a road, the house is too close to a settlement, the house is too close to a Jewish school, the house is too close to military infrastructure, we cannot provide the house with running water, electricity, sewage, and so on. Palestinians know that the chances of them getting a permit to build, even if they apply for one, is minimum. So the majority of Palestinians build without a permit.
anti-Semitism is a form of racism. As Jews, we completely reject racism and anti-Semitism. So there's a deep contradiction there in the oppression of the Palestinians by Jews. And so we believe that we stand for Jewish values and Jewish integrity that are deeply important to us and deeply important for the Jewish people. And therefore, we feel that it's really important that Jews around the world speak out and say, no, Israel does not speak for us, as Netanyahu tries to claim. And there's some very good illustrations of that. When there were people killed in Paris recently, and Netanyahu made propaganda out of that and went to a synagogue in Paris and said to all the Jews in that synagogue, the anti-Semitism in France now is unbearable. Come home to Israel. The congregation in that synagogue replied to Netanyahu by singing the Marseillaise, the French national anthem. You know, they said, no, we don't recognize Israel as our home. France is our home.
Zionism is completely, diametrically opposing the Jewish religion. And somebody what's a Jew, he can't be a Zionist. A Jew is not a Zionist, and a Zionist is not a Jew. Because the whole Zionist ideology is against the Jewish fundamental law. We come here just to bring out it's called Ba'as Mechias Hamulek. That means that the good side take over the bad side.
Judaism, yes. Zionism, no. The state of Israel must go. Go in Agadai, Yatanam Lokan, Zayed. Lokan, Ayasho, in Agadai, Yatanam Lokan, Zayed.
Vela ayone, avodem toyosayni agdoshu ne. Vela hinne lemone. Beshil koina koifrem, ayno ne makirem, ayno ne makirem.
There are other people like myself who are anti-Zionist and who do struggle against our government's policies. You know, we're not a large community within Israel anymore, but there are more of us. And I think after Gaza last summer, there has been more growing awareness within the Jewish community, both in the US and the UK, and people are starting to question their relationship with Israel. I mean, being Jewish doesn't mean you should have blind support for Israel. That's ridiculous. I mean, your best friends are the ones who criticize you. Your best friends are the ones who tell you the truth to your face. And if you're a real a friend of ours, if you really want there to be a holy land, if you believe in this holy land, then you need to be struggling for peace and justice, and not just blindly supporting Israel because it's Israel. In the West Bank, there's logic. I mean, when I say logic, I mean like bizarre logic. Here there's water, here it's a junction, this is where we'll put the settlements. But in Jerusalem itself, I really think, I think it's just a matter of bloody-headedness and arrogance. I don't know. Okay guys, I want you to look to your left. We're gonna take a right, and I want you to look to the left and you're gonna see the Dome of the Rock. There's the Dome of the Rock. We're very close to the old city, yes? We're now driving on Jericho Road, guys. We are coming to my favorite part of the tour. On your left-hand side is the Mount of Olives Cemetery. It is predominantly a Jewish cemetery, but it also has Muslim and Christian quarters. People like to be buried here because they believe that if you get buried here, you'll be closer to redemption because this is where the Messiah is going to come from. Now, we're driving on Jericho Road. Jericho Road leads from the old city of Jerusalem to the old city of Jericho. Jericho city is 9,000 years old. It is the oldest city in the world.
Gunsager from Jews for Justice for Palestinians! Justice for Palestinians! 2-3 months ago, the BBC did not report the assassination by Israel of 3 Palestinian youths.
Now I'm absolutely convinced that what I'm doing is absolutely right and justified. It doesn't matter from which angle you come at it from, whether you come at it from basic principles of humanity. I mean, how can there be an argument about opposing the slaughter that was Protective Edge, where over 2,000 Palestinians were killed, thousands seriously wounded, and hundreds of homes demolished, and the power system, electricity system, the power generation system, the water system, the sewage system, and the hospitals and the schools and the clinics were targeted by Israel. And the disproportionate nature of that conflict, where you had half a dozen Israelis killed, most of them soldiers, 1 Israeli child killed in that conflict. Those deaths are equally tragic, but the disproportionate nature of the consequences is extraordinary. How on earth could you not condemn that utterly as a gross violation of human rights?
What Israel is doing to Gaza at the moment is unconscionable, is horrific, is horrendous. It's a crime against humanity.
Look, everybody wants to take some project. If it's wrong, why you do it? Of course, when we do it, we are very, very comfortable with it.
We will never let you down. We will never let you down. We will never let you down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no more. Israel is a terrorist state. No justice, no peace. Israel out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. Israel out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. Israel out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. Israel out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. Israel out of the Middle East. Free, free. Palestine. Free, free. Palestine. Free, free. Palestine. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. We will never let you die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. We will never let you die.
I don't think what I'm doing is wrong. I think what I'm doing is exactly what every Israeli Jew or every Jew of any nationality who is concerned about human rights, it's our responsibility. I think it's a duty to be doing what we're doing. Jericho Road leads from the old city of Jerusalem to the old city of Jericho. Jericho city is 9,000 years old. It is the oldest city. There are those who would say that Israel should build a wall on the Green Line, or they should build the wall on their own land. But I personally say there shouldn't be a wall anywhere, not on anyone's land. Now Israel's determined that this is a temporary security solution. According to the State of Israel's own figures, 150,000 Palestinians cross this wall so-called illegally, not through checkpoints, every year, looking for work on the other side, in construction, as cleaners, whatever. Any one of them could strap a suicide vest themselves and go and blow themselves up. And the reason they don't is this. Back in 2004, the PFLP, the PLO and Fatah made a conscious decision not to use suicide bombers as a method of resistance. Now, as we know, there have been isolated incidents of attacks happening. just for a second, we're going to talk about this. The Geneva Conventions. The Geneva Conventions dictate to a country how it should behave when it's occupying a piece of land and people. In the Geneva Conventions, it states that an occupied people have the right to resist their occupation. If we're looking at the cold law, the basic black and white law, Palestinians have a right to resist by any means their occupation. It doesn't mean civilian targets. It basically is referring to military targets. Anyone in uniform, any military infrastructure is a legitimate target. Now, every community that you see on this map that's denoted by a red dot is a community that will be completely surrounded by the wall upon its completion. Basically being ghettoized. Now, Israel started building the wall in 2002. It was supposed to be completed by 2006. It's now 2014 and we've completed about 63%. It's so far cost $2 billion to build.
So if I went to Israel now to take up my so-called right of citizenship, in effect, I would be taking land, income, home that I think belongs to a Palestinian. So I would never, ever go there.
I'm coming from Palestine, I'm born there. I'm a Palestinian Jew. I'm proud to be a Palestinian. You can see, you don't know the Jewish tradition, but this way, as I going, this called Yerushalayim Chalat. That means a Jerusalem way of going. A white couple that you can see are going white, not black. Usually all the people outside Palestine going black. In Palestine they're going white. I going white. I going especially here this and this. Like I going. These are special Jerusalem way of wearing. I'm a Jerusalem Jew. I'm a Palestinian Jew, and I'm proud of that. I can't be in Palestine today because there is a state of Israel, and I didn't want to live under the Israeli regime. But I'm waiting the day of the dismantlement. I will go back, but with my Palestinian passport.
I moved to Israel at a young age. I was 15 years old. I didn't have much of a choice. I had to go with my parents. It's what they wanted. I was 15. I can't legally. I wasn't able to leave my parents, and I had to go with them. And I guess since I've been living there, it's become home.
The most dangerous place for Jewish people is in the state of Israel. Jews live all over the world peacefully, and they have no problem.
Netanyahu said that Israel's the safest place for Jews. How can you call your country safe when you surround yourself with this iron dome? How can you call yourself safe when the military is such a huge part of our civilian life?
Our position is on the solution is the same as the Palestine Authority and the PLO, which is a two-state solution, because we feel that we should support the Palestinians in their position. We're not in a position, we don't believe we should tell the Palestinians what to do.
You can see they're working on two-state solution already for 20 years, 30 years, I don't know. They have so many names. The roadmap, Oslo, I don't remember all these names. Nothing have succeeded, nothing will succeed. Because a rebellion against God can't be succeed. They will not succeed.
I was going to say I think the best solution for the Israelis and Palestinians is a one-state solution, where we share the land that lies between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean. But I also wonder if for the Palestinians themselves, if a two-state solution isn't the best option for them, or is the best option for them, where there would be a space and opportunity for Palestinians to have control over their own future without Israel.
For me personally, I think it should be everyone should live in the whole area with equal human rights, equal civil rights, equal rights to practice their religious beliefs. in one country.
The state of Israel will come to an end. It is the only solution that the whole state should go back for the Palestinians, and then Jews and Muslims can live there peacefully together.
I would say, though, ultimately, with a disregard to a final status of one state or two states or 100 states, the most important thing that needs to happen is the occupation must end. That matrix of control has to be dismantled. The Palestinians in Israel must be treated as first-class citizens, just like the white Ashkenazi Jews are treated. And whether that means it's a one-state or a two-state, either one, but the occupation must end, this discrimination must end, the racism must be faced and dealt with.